You could leave it all to your dog if you really wanted to.
I don't think the problem is that people are afraid of dying. I think they're afraid of talking about it.
What animal sanctuary are we going for here? Are we going dogs?
Pigeons.
Pigeons!
Oh my god, no, don't get me started on pigeons.
I'm the only one that doesn't have ADHD in this room.
Forget to-do list. What about to-done list? Might have to steal that.
Yeah, you steal that. Well, there's a Trauma Agora commission that comes with it.
Legacy isn't what people say about you at your funeral. It's the impact that you had on people whilst you were alive.
Hi Trauma Agora fans, thank you so much for joining us again for another episode. We are super excited to bring on a guest for you today, so all will be revealed very shortly. But today does require a little bit of a trigger warning for those of you who might be affected by grief and loss at the moment. So just a quick pre-warning. Go and take a beat. Come back and listen to it later, though, because there's going to be some brilliant chats going on. Today, we have got the amazing Sophia Maslin on the show from Morby. How are you, Sophia?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to chat all things Morby.
Yeah, 100%. We're so buzzing. And like I said, this topic today does come with a little bit of a sort of trigger warning for those possibly going through grief, but at the same time we're going to keep things light, we're going to keep things fun. We are absolutely here to learn about Morby, but we're also here to learn about a little bit of Sophia's mindset around Morby and her general philosophy, I guess, of, you know, what it's like to tackle grief, tackle death, and the kind of navigation of such a heavy topic and bringing it forward to people in their 20s and 30s. That's what we're all about. We're trying to spread some awareness here. So I think let's jump into our first question, and hopefully, like we say, we'll get to know Sophia as we go through our questions. I think young people put off this inevitable conversation. What's that core message that's at the heart of everything you're doing at Morby?
I think the core message for us is, you know, you don't get a will because you think you're about to die. You get a will because you care about the people that you love and you have stuff that you want to protect. To me, and I think a big underlying ethos is, you know, I want to push more for sort of wills to be life admin and like financial wellness, as opposed to, you know, this really morbid document that people, you know, dread about doing, and it's all about death and the inevitable. So I want to kind of give a fresh take on it, but it really is not just a document that you need because, you know, you think you're going to die. It is, you know, something that you just need to get, like your driving license or health insurance or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. So you take quite like a pragmatic approach to it, which is kind of where I sit. I think every family's different, but for me, my family are incredibly like pragmatic about discussions around wills. There's a bit of an inside joke for us that literally every time I go and visit my nan up north, she's got a new copy of the will that she needs us to sign, and my poor boyfriend is always witness to it. And it's like she's only changed the tiniest little detail, but we've got to talk about the will and we've got to make sure that she's covered. And I think that mentality is maybe on the extreme end, but I do think there's a little bit of inspo we can take there. And I would say, obviously, it's become an inside joke for us, but maybe there's other people out there that don't have that kind of open conversation with their close ones, you know, with their loved ones. How do you kind of find that balance as well with, you know, such a kind of pragmatic approach of like, no, this just needs to be done. This is kind of a legal process. And how do you find that balance between the humorous side as well of just being like, look, it is what it is. Like, let's have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just want to say first and foremost that we never really put humor or joke about death. We sort of joke about how humans perceive it, right? And that's the big difference with us. Because, you know, it is still a serious topic, but I don't think the problem is that people are afraid of dying. I think they're afraid of talking about it. So we use humor as like the icebreaker, and then we use honesty as the sort of trust builder. Humor to, you know, lower people's guard about it, and then we use clarity to actually help them and educate them.
Yeah.
Morby is, and I'm sure you've seen some of the branding, but we're actually not trying to make like death funny. We're trying to make planning for it feel more human. That's, I think, how we attempt to do that. But it's also about getting that sort of fine balance because, like you said, it's a serious legal document, right? And yes, we are targeting millennials and Gen Z, and yes, we do use humor. but we also need people to trust us as a company and as a brand. So there's a bit of a sweet spot that we need to hit, essentially, that we're trying to hit.
Yeah, and honestly, it's incredible. I've obviously used Morby for writing my own will, which is where this all kind of came about. I was like, Nina, Jake, we need to speak to Sophia so bad. Like, it was just such a genius platform as far as I was concerned. But it also made me really reflective. It actually made me pause for thought. I'm 28, and I'm, hopefully nowhere near having to really lean on that document myself. This is kind of what I wanted to speak on, the philosophy of it all, because it really does make you pause, and it really does make you think, okay, of all my worldly possessions and the kind of message I want to leave, how do I go about that in a me kind of way as well? I think Gen Z and millennials are a lot more, I don't know whether it's go with the flow or it's more like realistic maybe about these kinds of topics. So it's interesting that maybe it's not more of a common thing for people to have written their wills or power of attorneys and that kind of thing. Jake, I'm going to throw it over to you because I know you're probably going to have some
We're
thoughts on
itching
the
to go.
philosophy.
I'm so desperate to go. Yeah.
Oh my God, guys, I'm worried.
So it goes with the curveballs. No, the philosophical grilling. There's a really popular phrase in Stoicism called memento mori. I don't know if you've heard of it, Sophia.
I haven't, no.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So it's a phrase used to not scare yourself out of death, but to remember that you are alive. There's a live, laugh, love quote similarly to this, which is you have two lives. The second one begins when you realize you only have one. I've been trying to write about the subject of mortality for a couple of years now, and I've really struggled to do it. And you've gone above and beyond that by creating a business that surrounds it. I'm really curious to see how your perspective on, I guess, being mortal has changed in the last decade since before starting the company than after starting the company. Because I think I really philosophically underpin the reasons behind, and also kind of spark the conversations within people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, who think they're super invincible. They have a dodgy knee, they have a sore back, but they're just not appreciating it as enough as they should.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but since I started Morby, and even before I started Morby, and maybe it's actually better if I take you back to why I started Morby, to answer that question. So I lost my cousin in 2022, and he was 34, 35, so like young.
Wow.
He had had a fiance, had a baby, but he didn't have a will. And so it just ended up being really, really messy. And the guy was so healthy, like didn't smoke, had a really healthy lifestyle. And so that just kind of, well, not only, I guess, put into perspective how fragile life is, but also, obviously made the problem of wills in the UK, younger people not getting wills in the UK, apparent to me. I mean, that's essentially why I started Morby. It was because of that. And I think since then, I've just been more cognizant about, living every day, living in the present, and kind of just enjoying time with people that I love and people I actually care about. My circle's got way smaller. Like, I really am focused on people that I think are good people now, as opposed to, I think when I was in my 20s, I had, lots and lots of friends and big circles. And actually, I look back and I think, you weren't good energy for me. Like, I'm very, very particular now about the people that I have in my life. Yeah, that I think has put it into perspective. But also just seeing, like, I do a lot of the back end reviewing. I'm part of the legal team, obviously. So I do see wills all the time, and just seeing what people want and how they speak about things, and, getting all the letter of wishes come through. It's so heartwarming. Yeah, it just really makes you kind of appreciate humanity in a way, and how connection is just such a foundation of humanity. To have something like this where you are just literally protecting those you leave behind. And I think that's really powerful to me.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we just did a recording on friendship breakups, Sophia. And although it might not have been as intense for you to trim down the social circle, but it shows why we do trim them down. It goes from having, what's the biggest contacts in which city? We could do all these fun stuff, we can have catch-ups, etc. But as you said, you've trimmed it down to a select few amazing people that give you good energy in your life. And again, like, this document just helps you contextualize that and put your intentions down as opposed to, oh, I'm sure Mr. Government can decide who I actually care about. You know, like I think you said one of your marketing images was you can leave it all to your dog if you really wanted to. Like if you truly love them, then fair play. But I think
love that.
having a really passive mindset towards mortality. I saw this quote from Jimmy Carr, and it's like, we don't want more time, we want more memories. And to have more memories, we need to catch ourselves in the present more often. And I think if you don't appreciate this, your life kind of speeds up because you're a bit more passive in how life goes through you. You go, oh, where are my 20s gone? Where are my 30s gone? Where are my 40s gone? And I think for me, that's fundamental in how you could live a present, fulfilling life. It's just catching yourself more often. And it goes to the overarching question of, because we're only here temporarily, our parents are here temporarily, our friends are here temporarily. My sister as well had a recent experience where she's 32 and 2 of her friends from high school passed away. So she had a very similar wake-up call and appreciation of, wow, I should connect with some of my friends who I've neglected more so, or these people aren't good energy, I just have shared history with them. I think all of that together really ties well. And the message of the company, the way you market it, it's targeting Gen Z and millennials. Obviously, it goes a bit older than that, but you have to tackle it with humor so then they can approach the subject a lot better. If you just kind of go like, whoa, it's going to happen one day, it's like, no, it's not. I'm fine. But if you kind of see it with the humor, I'll leave it all to your dogs. Oh, that's really funny. Oh, wow, yeah. In, 75 years' time, in 3 generations' time, there's not going to be much of me left in terms of like the memory, etc. So let's really, give it all to Labrador. That would be my 2 cents on it.
Exactly. But also less people, I feel like as well, our marketing has to be curated for those generations in the way that, less people are having kids now. And so there are loads of people that just have pets. And, if something happened to you tomorrow, who's actually going to look after your pet? Who's going to care for your pet? So we have to really, really think about that. But I think just on that as well, I think we've been desensitized to death a little bit. Not only, do we see stuff, political, God knows, the stuff that's going on in the world every single day, but also COVID made death a little bit more palatable, not in a good way, but it did. So I think as generations, we're definitely much more desensitized to it than previous. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask Sophia on that note. I had a bit of a different upbringing to Emily of like, in my family, we don't talk about death. I would say I'm quite scared of death. So I guess what would you say to someone like me to encourage them to use Morby, or just in general to start to think about, having a will? How would you encourage them to get over that fear? Is it just like you said, kind of seeing it with humor a little bit, or just thinking of it as like helping the people in your life? What do you feel like you would say to someone that is still super scared of death?
I think honestly that you just shouldn't, associate the will with death. Like it's actually, okay, yes, it is technically for that, but it really is a way for you to just almost, it can be quite cathartic, like laying out everything that you've got in your life, you're appreciating stuff. It can be quite helpful in terms of reflection of where you're at with your life, who you care about, but also it's just a life admin document. So I think there are so many benefits to it, even without the whole, okay, yeah, I'm preparing for my own death. It's so weird because I'm almost like so now brainwashed the other way that I don't even feel like it's even about death wills anymore because I've been pitching it so much. I don't even see it as like a morbid document anymore at all. It's a piece of paperwork that you just should be doing. And as I said, I feel like there is that sort of other side to it where it can be a good way to sort of review your life thus far.
Yeah, I really like that. Kind of like a journaling exercise of like taking stock of like your whole life and all your friends and what you have at the moment. And yeah, I actually like to see it that way for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you can then take stock and then be like, actually, this is everything I've achieved in my life so far. I've got a house to leave to someone. I've got a dog to leave to someone. I've got, possessions and memories. And I think that's actually quite a nice sentiment rather than it being a thing to be scared of. It's actually something to motivate you to live your life a little bit in a fuller extent, actually. So there you go, Nina.
But also
Get
just
right
be, grateful and appreciative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I think what the key to happiness, in my opinion, is gratitude. And so it kind of forces you to be grateful for what you've done, what you've built.
Yeah. And what can make you feel more grateful than feeling that you are more finite than you originally thought? Like, if there is only a limited time left, what is left behind that veil of fear is just pure gratitude for who you are right now, the health you have right now. Like, you might think, oh, I want to earn more money, or I want to move to this country, etc. But when you actually take stock of it, there's also another strategy of, instead of doing your to-do list, you do your done list, then list all the things you have done, take appreciation for it more. And it could be like starting this podcast with Nina and Emily. It might be something like, oh, when's the next episode? When's the next episode? And it's so future thinking. It's not taking stock of what you've actually achieved in the past. And again, it all just pulls back to gratitude. They say that gratitude is the father of all virtue because everything great filters through a gratitude lens. So
I feel like there's a good slogan there, like, forget to-do list, what about to-done list? Like, I really like that. Might have to steal that.
Yeah, you steal that. Well, there's a Trauma Agora commission that comes with it.
Yeah, I hope you haven't trademarked that one.
Well, Sophia, I do have a legal background. I've got a law degree, albeit in 2021.
Watch out, he's coming for you.
I'm definitely going to lose, but I'll go toe to toe over that slogan.
Oh my God. Sophia, a quick question for you then on death, okay, and it being a little bit like intense. If death had a PR team, what would you be saying to them to switch it up and make it a little bit more appealing?
I mean, I think I just want them to fix the idea that death is only something that happens to old people. You know, I think it's the switch up between stop selling someday and start selling like just in case. It shouldn't be this, you know, ambiguous date in God knows how many years. Like, it should really be not just old people die. Sadly, of course, it is sad that young people die. I mean, it's sad that old people die. That's what I'd probably ask them to fix. And again, yeah, I guess that's quite morbid, but it really is the reality, unfortunately. And especially, yeah, I think, but then as I said earlier, I think COVID and stuff that's happened since social media generally has made us desensitized to death.
Is it? Yeah, I appreciate it. It's a tough question because it's like, how do you turn something that is not only inevitable, but it's kind of terrifying at the same time? I think in actual fact, you know, a terminal diagnosis or news being dropped on them, everyone fears that. But there is, you know, there is positivity, like we just said, there is positive things you can take away from it. It gives you a bit more get up and go. It gives you a bit more reason to be grateful, and I love that. I really do. The other concept as well, and the other reason we wanted to have this conversation is to kind of talk a little bit about perspective on legacy, like you touched on a little bit earlier. It's so important. I mean, me and Nina speak often about how we're not sure if we want to have kids, and there's a lot of pressure, you know, get the baby count up and all this kind of stuff, and like, it's not just about legally leaving stuff to people or pets or charities or whatever. It's about having something to be, you know, your legacy and a message more than anything, rather than a physical possession. What does the word legacy actually mean to you? Is it a concept you think about? Is it just, you know, something of days gone by? What does legacy actually mean in your world?
I think for me, you know, legacy isn't what people say about you at your funeral. I think it's the impact that you had on people whilst you were alive, whether you left love behind, and those memories. I've always said this, but you know, I want to be successful in my life because I want to leave a mark on the world in a good way. Whatever success I end up making in life, I want to give back. You know, there are so many different things I want to do. Like, you know, eventually I want to go back and practice human rights law. I want to open an animal sanctuary. Like, there are so many different things that I want to do. But in order to create a big impact in the world, sadly, you have to have funds. And so I think a big part of whatever I did decide ever to do in life, I wanted to really do well at it and be successful in order to be able to do that. It's just leaving that positive impact on the world. And yeah, that's what legacy means to me.
I love that. It's so beautiful. And P.S., what animal sanctuary are we going for here? Are we going dogs, donkeys?
Pigeons?
I
Pigeons.
honestly, I'm open. Oh my god, no, no, don't get me started on pigeons. I love pigeons. I'm such a big advocate for pigeons. Like,
How are you so on the nose with that, Jake? That's unreal.
Pigeons get too much
Listen here.
hate.
they're just,
They
yeah,
do.
there's
They do
such a
get too much
stigma.
hate.
We literally just abandoned them after the war. Like, no, I
Right.
can't. Like when someone says they like hate pigeons, I automatically can't be friends with them.
That is so bang on. Do you know what? I completely agree with you. So don't worry. I'm up for a pigeon sanctuary. Let us know when it's opened and we'll be the first to come and visit.
It'll save you some social media costs, Sophia, because if you're sending pigeons out instead with like Morby taglines.
For God's sake,
You know.
Jake.
But
For
yeah,
God's
you know,
sake.
people enjoy purpose. I'm sure pigeons enjoy purpose as well. You put
Yeah,
them out
but
there. if you-
not work into the bone doing all the carrying for. No, Sophia's
Well, I'm
gonna
not
look
saying
after
to ship them between Australia and the UK. That would be insane.
For goodness sake.
just around
dude.
Adelaide, just a local
Love them.
distribution network. You know,
Just-
like a local newspaper. I think that could work.
Honestly. Oh yeah, for those that weren't aware, Sophia's currently in Adelaide. We're all spread all over the world coming to bring this very important conversation.
I actually volunteered at a cat sanctuary as well. Cats are my favorite animal. I'd love to have a cat sanctuary one day.
I love cats and dogs. When people ask me that, are you a cat or a dog person? I'm like, I love them both. Like, I don't know. I just love animals. Actually, speaking of animals, this is a bit off topic, but I went to a sanctuary here yesterday and I saw kangaroos and koalas and it was just so amazing. Like, it was just so amazing. Yeah. It's my first time, obviously, like seeing them, my first time in Australia, but like they're so cool. Yeah. Just nerding out over animals.
Yeah, like I remember I've been to Australia a few times because I've got family over there, but one of like the earliest pictures I've got is of me holding a koala when I'm like 4 years old, and I'm like, I was living back then. 4-year-old me was having the best time. Like, imagine that, like actually being surrounded by those creatures. They are so stunning. Like kangaroos are very strong though, so I'm a little bit scared of them. But
You peaked too early, Emily, I think.
yeah, I did peak at 4. So true. So true. Oh my God. Yeah, we're big animal people here as well, Sophia, so don't you worry. It's never
Okay.
off topic.
I'm glad.
I am curious about, you mentioned it, that obviously the personal story of what happened with your cousin, if someone passed away without actually having a will. So I guess we're curious what happens in that event, because you mentioned it was very messy. I guess to encourage people to start to think about their will and, you know, start to use Morby. What basically happens in that situation? Because I've got no idea. So I'm curious for your take.
Yeah, so you are subject to something called the rules of intestacy, and they're basically they're rules that just govern where your estate should go. And it tends to be, you know, if you've got kids, well, if you're married, it goes to your partner. If you've got kids, it goes to your kids. If you don't have kids and you don't have a partner, it goes to your parents. But there are sort of nuances within that a lot of people aren't aware of. So, for example, if you know you have a partner, you've lived together for let's say 50 years, but you aren't married, your partner doesn't necessarily get anything, which is crazy, right? Because they're your partner for 50 years, you've lived with them, but if you're not legally married, yeah, essentially the government just decides what happens. But it's not just that, right? If you know, if your family weren't happy and they decided to contest the will, then they could end up in court, and then you've got all the legal fees. You know, probate takes months as it is, and so it can just be really messy. And there are also inheritance rules where you can sort of reduce the inheritance tax. Again, various little nuances here and there, and so you can't take advantage of those if you don't have a will as well. For example, if you leave 10% to charity, again, the inheritance tax comes down. So there are certain little things that, again, you just can't take advantage of if you don't have a will either. And like realistically, you know, if you work your whole life, half your life, whatever, and, you know, but you have worked hard, you've built up your estate, or you've got pets or kids, whatever, do you really, really want the government to choose what happens? Like, do you? Like, our government, do you want them to decide?
You want to leave it all to the pet.
So, yeah.
Basically, I don't know why I'm laughing, it's not funny, but it made me think about what you said about how death can make it really messy, and how I think a lot of families do get into arguments, even if there is a will, and then obviously if there isn't a will, it's, you know, it can really split up families. Like I had that situation when my grandfather passed away. My mom and her brother were arguing over the apartment that he left behind and like who was going to get what percentage, whether they were going to sell it, all of that stuff. It was very complicated, and it led to a bit of a rift in our family. So I guess that's another advantage of basically having a will and having it all planned out, is that minimizing this sort of strife that happens. We see it all the time in like media and TV shows and films, how when someone passes away, suddenly all these like random family members start appearing and trying to...
Oh my God, it's giving Knives Out. Do you remember? I
Yeah,
hope
Knives
you
Out. I was
listened
thinking
to
of
this
that.
out.
Knives Out,
Sophia, have you seen that
literally
film with
that.
Daniel Craig?
I
Honestly, it's
have,
like
I have.
so
good.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I've seen
It's
it.
like the last thing that you need as well when you're like going through all of that loss.
Exactly.
Like, for God's sake, it's just, it's chaos. You
Yeah.
don't need that extra.
But we also, something interesting that we also do is called a letter of wishes. So, for example, I mean, there are various reasons why you write one, but it goes kind of alongside your will. It's not actually a testamentary document, so it can't be submitted for probate. But if there was ever a situation where someone, say, for example, you purposely didn't include your sister in your will, in the letter of wishes, you would then say, I haven't included my sister in my will because of XYZ. And then that can be used in court. So if she was to then contest the will, they'd have, the executive would have the letter of wishes to sort of back that up.
My sister's probably listening right now going like, oh, great. There's a way for Emily to leave me out. But just to clarify as well, when you say go to probate, is that to make it legally binding? Is that kind of what it means? Sorry.
No, probate is essentially the process that like the executor has to go through when they're going through the estate and sort of saying, okay, well, you get this, you get this. But it can be it's a very long, drawn out process, and actually something that I think needs a bit of reform in the UK, if I'm being honest. But yeah, it's just the process essentially of dividing up your estate after.
Makes sense. Okay. I'm going to have to really brush up on my legal terms before doing any social posting for this, so that I don't get...
Jake, you should know this. Did you do equity and trust?
I did do equity and trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to. I did have to do it. Yeah.
There you go.
I didn't do that well based on the conversation of, I don't really remember wills that much from it.
Jake did some really interesting stuff though, right? Like you did some really like juicy topics though. Instead, you went a bit like off piece, didn't you? You did like women's rights and stuff, didn't you? Like female,
yeah, that kind of stuff.
Because he's a nice guy and everything, so
that's really cool. I don't think I got the option to do that. I would have done that. I didn't get the option to do that. That's very sad.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was around sex crimes, domestic abuse, and it's just really interesting how the dynamics differ between men and women, women to men, men to men, women to women. That was my best grade actually. It definitely overlapped in terms of the psychology of it, and then also how it kind of transpired. Yeah. So yeah, not a performative male.
Right. I think we've got probably a couple more bits that we want to ask you here, Sophia. So, in fact, actually, this can go nicely off the back of Nina's question about rifts in the family and the purpose of covering yourself with a will being that it kind of squashes any questions that people might have around your legacy and what you want to leave behind. Do you think, because I know certainly for me, this has changed massively, but do you think that having these wills and documents behind you before it's needed actually changes the way that people interact with their friends and family? Do you think it actually makes a difference in people's perspectives, puts things into perspective on people's relationships? Because I know for me, speaking back to what we were referring to earlier about gives you that kind of new lease for life a little bit, it's definitely put things and relationships into perspective. Does it do the same for you, or do you think you're very pragmatic and just, roll with it?
No, I think it definitely does. I think a will is in essence a mirror. I think when you actually sit down and decide who gets what, who's going to look after your kids, who you trust to really, look after your dog, you realize who holds weight in your life. So I think it brings that level of like emotional clarity, and I think you would subconsciously or consciously feel different. I mean, I know I do, because I think that's a really big thing to someone. If you trust this person to look after your kids, and that person you must really trust that person.
Yeah.
Like that's a good person to you. And so you're probably going to pour more into that relationship naturally. So yeah, I think that it's definitely a bit of a mirror for me.
I think, yeah, when I was I was saying to these two before before I actually reached out and sort of said we'd love to speak to you, was writing up I can't remember what you call that document at the end, the piece of just kind of like overall, this is why I'm leaving this to this person and not to this person. And I was sobbing. Like, I was genuinely bawling my eyes out. I think it's probably the time of the month, to be honest, but I was sobbing. And it was really like a gear shift for me of, okay, I know my family are comfortable with talking about wills, and we've had lots of people pass in our family, unfortunately. So we are a little bit desensitized to it. But actually, it was the first time it all came to the surface for me. And I went, oh my God, I adore these people and I don't tell them often enough. Or actually, this person isn't that important, but respectfully, I think I've put too much effort in and I'm not receiving the same effort back, or that kind of thing. And go and listen to the friendship breakups episode as well if you want to hear a bit more about that. But overall, the kind of philosophy and the mindset that I've taken away from this experience of writing my will has been monumental. Everyone's kind of gone new year, new me. It's that time of the year. But this conversation kind of with myself and with these two happened at the back end of last year, and it's really helped me step forward into the new year with like this mindset of living with the people, with my smaller circle, like you referred to, cutting the fat off, so to speak, and actually living for what I am passionate about.
I'm really glad as well that I'm just glad that that's your experience. Like that's really,
oh my God, yeah,
I think that's
it was
really
so emotional.
that's really meaningful.
But...
I haven't heard anyone else. I mean, I haven't spoken to like every person that's gone through it, obviously, but you're the first person to say that. You know, I'm sure it has obviously affected other people, but yeah, that's really really meaningful to me to just hear that. So yeah, I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, I am too. Do you know what? I've been meaning to do it for a while, and I came away from, like I say, it super emotional, but God, it was just the clarity afterwards was unbelievable. And yeah, I'm a massive fan of your work, basically. That's why I ended up saying to the other two, you know, we need to reach out, we need to hear it more from you direct. I think what you're doing is so powerful for people like me who have kind of maybe dipped their toe into that mindset of like, okay, I need to access this part of me that, you know, feels present. But no, it was super powerful, super emotional. So I'm a big fan, that is for sure. But yeah, so and I mean every word of that. So yeah, I was gonna say, as a second to last question, what matters most to you in your life that you maybe didn't appreciate before, but what's 2026 got for you? What's mattering most in your life? What's making you feel present?
I think 2026, like this year, the main focus for me and what I think I need to focus on more and what needs to matter to me more is actually myself. Like I feel like I can really end up neglecting myself sometimes, whether that's through relationships, whether that's through work. I sometimes can get lost. I'm so busy all the time, and I kind of sometimes forget to just see, okay, I've done this, I've come this far, and just appreciate like my tenacity with everything. And I think that sort of just self-reflection and personal wellness, I think I need to focus more on, because I do just pour a lot into work. I pour so much into other people that I sometimes just forget to pour into me. So that actually is what I need to work on.
I love that. Fill your own cup as well as other people's. I love that so much. Like, what's your like self-care? Like, what's your favorite like kind of wellness thing for yourself? What are you going to be going away and doing after this interview?
I mean, I do love working out. I think working out is really, really good for my mind. I'm very like ADHD, so I really struggle to switch off. I'm always flickering between different things. Sleeping is really hard for me. So I think I just need to, yeah, work out, go for more walks, spend more time with animals. do stuff that relaxes me, really, because I find it so hard to relax.
Oh my God, you know, it's so interesting. We all perked up then when you said you've got ADHD, because we've, like, me and Jake have ADHD as well.
I'm the
So
only
we're
one
like,
that doesn't. I'm feeling left out. I'm the only one that
yeah,
doesn't have
sorry, Nina.
ADHD in this room.
Yeah, so yeah, completely feel you. I know me and Jake really struggle with like resting and just stopping, and like, and that I think probably the
Yeah.
Morby's message and like everything that you do to make people feel present actually speaks to that a little bit as well, and just making people stop, process, and rest with their thoughts a bit. So yeah, no, I feel you. Go and give a shout out to the pigeons for us over in Oz.
I will.
Okay, I love this question. People often say they'd have someone like Morgan Freeman or David Attenborough narrate their life in a posthumous trailer. I feel like I've botched that pronunciation.
Is it posthumous?
Posthumous.
Posthumous?
Posthumous, yeah.
Posthumous trailer.
Posthumous.
Posthumous. Posthumous. Who would you pick to narrate your trailer, write your eulogy, or run the bar at your wake?
So I am a huge fan of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I don't know if you guys
Oh,
have
from
seen
Fleabag.
Fleabag, but like it's my favorite series ever, and I feel like she can be funny but also devastating at the same time. So I would really like her to narrate my trailer. Like, I think for my, it's the next question's eulogy, isn't it? For my eulogy, I think, so I think I'd actually probably pick someone that like knows me really well, and but someone that actually saw all my ups and downs. So I'd probably say my sister. So I guess that's a personal one. Um, and then in terms of running the bar at my wake, I'd have just someone really fun. My absolute girl crush is Rihanna, so I'd probably say her. She's
Oh
very
my
fun.
God, yes. Oh, that's so good. Serving all the rum. Actually, yeah, what would be served at the bar? What would be your drink of choice?
I'm so weird. I love Guinness. I'm obsessed with Guinness.
That's amazing.
I
Oh,
just
that's
love
not weird.
Guinness. Yeah.
That's great.
I don't know. I'm always like the only person to order it whenever I go out, but I really, really like Guinness. Or like as a cocktail, I'd like maybe Aperol spritz, limoncello spritz. Those are kind of nice.
Oh, I love that. I'm a Hugo Spritz
Yeah.
girl through and through. I love a good spritz.
Hugo's
to
are
be fair.
good as well. They are
Hugo
great. They are
Spritz.
great.
Oh, gorgeous. So Rihanna serving up the Guinnesses and the Aperols at your wake, that is iconic as far as I'm concerned. Jake, Nina, any other closing thoughts?
Yeah. I just only say that I'd want Captain Jack Sparrow to narrate my eulogy. I think it would be hilarious. I know they say like your legacy isn't just what's at the funeral, but surely if he turned up, it'd be spoken about for another 150 years. That would be my thing.
That's so true.
My main closing thought would be obviously going very philosophical. That's my passion. There's two ways you can look at it when it comes to like morbid, comes to mortality, comes to death. And you can see it as we are temporary, and like, oh, a nihilist perspective will say, oh, nothing matters then. But on the flip side of that, you can say nothing matters apart from things that you decide matter. And that perspective shift for me changes friends, changes passions, changes, directions you go through. So I say that's my closing thought, that this isn't supposed to scare you. It isn't supposed to make you hyper productive either. It's just to make you feel a bit more liberated, to have more of a choice and more autonomy when you realize that, everything around you is going to change. So that would be my closing bit.
I love that.
My takeaway, throwing it to me, would definitely be kind of seeing having a will as a negative into a positive. That was a big mindset shift for me personally, like when we were talking about that topic, of rather than seeing it as like this big scary thing that traditionally is associated with death, actually it's just currently taking stock of your life and being grateful for everyone in it, grateful for everything you've achieved so far, and seeing it that way of actually it's all about taking stock and actually, like Emily said, making you more grateful for your relationships. So yeah, that's my big takeaway. Just a massive thanks for coming on the podcast from all of us. I mean, I think it's been a great conversation. Yeah. I've really enjoyed it. It's definitely, like I said, made me think differently about wills, about death, as someone that traditionally has been quite scared of it. So yeah, I've loved it.
Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you. Is there anything that we can keep our eye on with regards to Morby upcoming? Anything exciting in the pipe?
There actually is. So we're launching our next product in the next few months, which is actually less morbid. It's a digital vault. So, I mean, it's twofold, right? So it helps organize your life while you're alive. So, your passwords, your important documents, it will be curated for you. So if you have a house, there'll be a house section on there. If you have a pet, there'll be a pet section on there. Everything that you need in your life. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm trying to find even my passwords, I have to scroll through my notes or my emails or my photos. And so this will centralize everything that you need in your life. And then it will plug into the will. So that's our next product. And then we're sort of building out an AI assistant that's going to kind of run through both, who I'm really excited about. I keep personifying them already, but I'm excited about that. So yeah, watch this space, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like an ADHD inspired product, if I've ever heard it. So it sounds good.
Literally organize your life. Oh my God. Well, listen, thank you so much. Yeah, we're super excited to see what's coming through for 2026 for you and for Morby. We're so grateful for this chat today. Thank you and enjoy Australia.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for having on. Love to speak to you.
All right, that's it for today's chaos. Thanks for joining us in the Trauma Agora.
If you can relate, make sure you hit follow, send it to your mate who really needs to hear it, and come and find us on socials for some extra nonsense.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. Same vibes, new existential crisis. See you then.